part of Prosper. We have Holly Atkinson, Nolan Wilkins, Adrian Davis, Carteret Lawrence, and myself, Marie Bernardo. And we're here to present our proposal on improving airport fuel spill containment. We will go through why do we care about this issue, the chemistry and effects of jet fuel, the state regulations, surface and subsurface solutions, as well as an alternatives comparison. In the general problem statement, we were hoping to improve the methods of containment and cleanup of fuel spills. Since this is so vague, we have chosen to choose a representative airport that has a high climate variability and will be generalized for the United States. Also, we wish to design a specific fuel spill containment strategy that improves upon the current response plan. But before we chose an airport, we decided to look at previous fuel spills that have happened in the United States. The most current have happened on January 8th and 13th by Japan Airlines aircraft. It leaked 40 gallons at Boston and 26 gallons at the Tokyo airport. This was due to an open valve that should have been closed on the aircraft wing. Also on January 3rd, a jet fuel spill occurred at the Marion Municipal Airport in Indiana, but the most severe has occurred in 1999 at the Kirtland Air Force Base, where it spilled 24 million gallons in an underground pipeline. We have chosen the Bozeman-Yellowstone International Airport located in Belgrade, Montana, due to the high climate variability and the current response plan to fuel spills is very limited.
Because Bozeman is an international airport, we have chosen to analyze jet fuel as opposed to normal aviation gas, which is used on smaller prop planes. Jet fuel is comprised almost entirely of kerosene. As you can see, it is over 95% kerosene. Kerosene is similar to gasoline, however, the hydrocarbons that make up kerosene are generally of a longer length, being 9 to 13 carbons in length versus gasoline, which is only 4 to 10. And this causes kerosene to be denser, but also less volatile, which has its pros and benefits in the event of a spill. Kerosene has a very low solubility at only 5 milligrams per liter, which classifies it then as an LNAPL, or light non-aqueous phase liquid, meaning that it will pool on top of water surfaces or on top of the water table.
Just a quick overview of the jet fuel effects both on humans and the ecology. Jet fuel can either be airborne or oral. If it is airborne, it can cause headaches, dizziness, coordination problems. If it does happen to leak into the soil or groundwater and become part of the drinking water, it can cause decreased white blood cells, nervous system effects, vomiting, or convulsions. However, there's nothing known about the carcinogenic effects of jet fuel. For the ecology, because when jet fuel seeps into the soil, it can stay in the soil for approximately 10 years. It can really slow down the germination effects of plants and affect the physical, chemical, and microbiological properties of soil. So this is the groundwater hydrocarbon regulations of the state of Montana. Montana has no regulation specific to jet fuel, so they just divert back to all gasoline regulations. And listed here are the regulations for contaminated soil.
At Prosper, we have broken up our sort of containment strategies into two categories, the first of which is surface spills and surface contamination. This has to do with all user errors when, or user errors in the event of trying to fuel the plane and making a mistake. The subsurface spill containment has to do with infrastructure problems due to leaks in either pipes or tanks. For surface spills, there are several methods that are commonly used by airports today. These include simply throwing an absorbent on a fuel spill and then shoveling it up later, or in a worst case, simply washing it away using a fire hose down the storm drain. Here at Prosper, we believe that these processes can be improved. Our first solution is a two-part process that first encompasses the pneumatic spill vacuum. which is used to clean up all standing oil on the tarmac. And the second is with a activated carbon fiber, either in mats or a roller, which would be rolled over the spill to remove any residual hydrocarbons. Currently, we are in development of an emergency response vehicle for airports that we are calling the BUFFAC, that will be capable of both these processes. However, this prototype is still in development.
The second of our surface spill proposals is to repave the tarmac with fuel-resistant asphalt. This calls for a one-time installation due to its durability. It's composed of a highly palmized asphalt with a half-inch P401 mix and a 50 blow Marshall design. The key to this is its low air pocket density. Usually asphalt is installed with 4% air pocket density, and this fuel-resistant asphalt can be installed with as little as 2.5% air pocket density, which allows for greater impermeability. The binders, PG8222 binders used as a glue to hold together the asphalt. Kerosene was dumped over this binder for 24 hours to test the effects on deterioration, cracking, and deformation. After the 24 hours, kerosene was shown to have minimal effects on this binder, which makes it so durable. The one disadvantage of this implementation is it requires an extremely large upfront cost since you have to repave all of the runways. And so our approach would be to advise this to airports with a large budget that can easily cover this upfront cost. And then if the soil, or if the fuel spill gets into the soil, we advise to use a quick solution of in situ capping. This refers to the placement of clean material over or around the contaminated sediment. This cap can be composed of either clean sediment, soil, gravel, or a mix. This is advantageous for airports because it requires little to no treatment and little material handling. This is a quick and easy solution for airports because it physically isolates contaminant from its surrounding sediment, and this also prevents burrowing organisms to transport this sediment to the soil or to surrounding groundwater wells. And the main disadvantages for long term is when the sediment below the cap and the contaminant sediment starts to erode, and when this happens, the source begins to leak to the surrounding sediment, and it acts like it was never treated in the first place. So we advise using this as a short-term, just containment solution rather than a long-term remediation process.
Another one of the solutions that we propose for containing surface fuel spills is to install an oil-water separator. This is going to be a chamber installed in the stormwater drain inlet. It's going to remove the oily layer from the surface if a spill were to happen. This will make cleanup easier because if a spill were to occur on the tarmac, they can just hose it down and then it goes into the drain and the oil gets skimmed off. And then it just releases the water into the sewer drainage system. Here's a simple diagram of how one would work. First it goes through and it's going to settle out any larger debris or particles, and then the oil is also going to be captured here, leaving just water to go into the water line. A solution that we propose for the subsurface containment is basically a simple multi-layer barrier that's installed under the pipeline. And this would have to be implemented during pipeline construction, which limits its usability, but also it could be implemented if any length of pipeline needed to be replaced. And it can be used for leak detection and also remediation purposes. So the bottom layer is made of bentonite clay, which has a very low permeability. If any free product was to be spilled, it wouldn't percolate directly into the groundwater. It would be retarded by the clay. And then above that is a layer of gravel. Gravel has a high porosity and hydraulic conductivity, so it would act as a preferential pathway for any oil that had spilled out of the pipeline, as well as any vapor that was volatilized due to a leak. And then we would have soil vapor monitoring and extraction wells, dry wells, screens through the gravel layer that can be used for monitoring the soil vapor in order to detect a leak in the first place. And if there is a leak that occurs, you could just hook up a pump and pump free product right out of that gravel trench. And that is what a simple cross-section would look like. It's just bentonite clay, gravel, sand for stability, and then the fuel pipeline on top.
So an overview of Prosper's alternatives comparison for this project. The constraints for this project are that it must protect infiltration of groundwater and ecosystem. This is especially important in the Yellowstone area, as we don't want to affect the very important ecosystem there. It also must withstand variable temperature and precipitation swings, as occur in the state of Montana. It can get very cold and it can get fairly warm in the summer. It also must have a cost-effective implementation. It can't be too expensive to place in, or a small airport won't be able to afford it. And also have minimal to fairly low maintenance and operation cost. So Prosper has determined the following decision criteria. It must be environmentally sustainable. It must be reliable. It must have low capital cost, operating and maintenance cost. It must be compatible with existing processes. Oh, okay. And it must have an ease of implementation. Prosper will send these decision criteria to all clients and stakeholders and let them review our criteria on a 0 to 10 scale, 0 being not important at all, there it is, and 10 being of the most importance. And Prosper then will take these decision criteria and put them into a matrix to determine the most effective solution for this project. So here's just our photo references. And we would like to open the floor to any questions now.
Why'd you guys pick the Bozeman Airport?
Well, currently they don't. Their current response plan is whoever spills it has to clean it up and pay for it. So we want to improve on that and have like the airport deal with it, as well as they get snow, they get rain, they get high wind, they get sun. It can be generalized. Our plan can be generalized for the whole United States based on the Bozeman Airport.
Cool.
Would you guys kindly restate your names?
Sure. I'm Marie.
I'm Carteret Lawrence.
Adrian Davis.
Holly Atkinson.
Nolan Wilkins.
Any other questions?
So you have a combination of kind of spill cleanup responses and then sort of on the remediation side a little bit, but it looks more geared to prevention and containment. And I was curious if the airport already has the pipeline in place, how possible it is to retrofit like one of these.
Right. Yeah, the main thing with that barrier is it has to be during construction. So if that was incorporated into the long-term planning of the airport and they needed to replace any stretches of pipeline at any point, it could easily be implemented. It's very cheap, but not cheap to dig it up and do it and then put it back. So it would have to be a long-term planning thing as opposed to a complete retrofit.
And that's something that we'll look into in our alternatives comparison on the implementation costs.
What types of solutions are most airports using right now, or what kind of opportunities they have for preventing spills? What's the most common type of approach you found?
Ready spills, for spills that occur while like fueling a plane, often they will just go and take either bags of sand or bags of quick sorbent, which they will throw onto the fuel spill. You wait for a little while and then you shovel it up. We don't think that is necessarily the most sustainable of solutions, and so we're striving to give a more environmentally friendly solution.
And a lot of airports actually have some version of an oil water skimmer in their storm drain.
Bozeman, though, has a pretty limited spill response plan, which is one of the other reasons that we chose Bozeman, because it is such an environmentally large area, and that impact of local spills could really affect the Yellowstone area.